Good morning, this is Rashad Mitchell coming to you live from my YouTube channel as I continue on my part series of the professional sports teams that didn't win the championship during that season. I've been dealing with the last couple of days talking about the baseball teams. I talked about the 1988 New York Mets and the 1990 Oakland A's yesterday. Now, for the third straight day, I'll be talking about the 1991 Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, this is a team that was going through a phase, like a 3-year stretch where they was in the NLCS. They lost to the Cincinnati Reds, lost to the Atlanta Braves the next couple of years, 91, 92. They're kind of like the equivalent of what the Portland Trailblazers was in the early 90s in the NBA. They went to the finals, a couple of times in 1990, 1992. 91, they didn't make it. They were in the Western Finals and lost to the Lakers, but they was in the NBA Finals twice. They didn't get the championship. And I think Pittsburgh kind of falls into that category. Like, they were good enough from 1990 to 1992 to win it all, and they didn't do it. But I think the 91 Pittsburgh Pirates team probably was their best team. Number one, they won 98 games, so they almost won 100 games. 98 games. They won the National League East Division title for the second consecutive season. But the problem is they couldn't get past the Braves during that period of time. They lost in 7 games to the Atlanta Braves in the National League Championship season. We're going to go over that, go over the games, go over a recap of that. They had pitcher John Smiley, who won 20 games, was the last to do so for the Pirates in the 20th century. Obviously, they had Barry Bonds, they had Andy Van Slyke, they had Bobby Bonilla. This team was very talented. Jeff King, Jose Lean. This team was really, really good. But they just couldn't get past the Braves. Barry Bonds was a big-time player. Bobby Bonilla, Andy Van Slyke, had Lloyd McClendon, Jeff King, Jose Lean. Let's see who else was on this team that stood out. Jim Lehman obviously managed the team. Doug Drabeck was a good pitcher. Don Slaught, pretty good player. They had good talent. And it just ran into a Atlanta Braves team they just couldn't handle. Okay, Bonds had 25 home runs, 116 RBIs. Bobby Bonilla had 18 home runs and 100 RBIs. These guys was big time. Van Slyke, look at his numbers. He had 17 home runs, 83 RBIs. Jay Bell had 16 home runs, 83 RBIs. Let me see. Almost 67 RBIs. So this team was very, very good. Very, very good. A lot of talent. It's just that the Braves, man, they just had their own way with them last, 91, 92. They played, 2 game 7s. Smiley was obviously their best pitcher. 20 wins, 8 losses. So I'm gonna get into the National League Championship Series of 91. Okay. The Braves were 94 and 80, 94 and 68. The Pittsburgh Pirates were 98 and 64. It was considered one of the best pitched 7-game series of the modern era, featuring 3 1-0 finishes and 4 shutouts. Steve Avery for the Atlanta Braves won the MVP. Pirates had the best record in the National League. That's why I'm talking about this team right now. From 91. They're the first National League East team to win consecutive division championships since the Philadelphia Phillies did it 3 straight years from 1976 and 1978. Yeah, they should have won the World Series because they were expected to win this series and advance to the World Series because the Braves were a team that came out of nowhere. They were in last place in the National League in 1990. They went to the first place in 1991. And they faced the Minnesota Twins. So overall, Pittsburgh should have won the whole thing. But I'm going to go over the games, summaries. Right, the first game, Pittsburgh won 5-1. Doug Drayback did his thing. Andy Van Slyke hit a home run for Tommy Glavine, who won a Cy Young Award in 1991. In the third inning, Jay Bell hit a leadoff single, then Van Slyke hit a double, and Bobby Bonilla scored a run each. Bobby Bonilla's single scored a run each. Steve Buechele doubled to lead off the sixth and scored on Doug Drayback's two-out double. The Pirates scored their last run in the eighth on Jose Lean's bases loaded sacrifice fly off of Mike Stanton. And they just hit a home run in the ninth inning off of relief Bob Walk. That was their only run. But an injury to Doug Drayback had major ramifications because he slid to third and injured himself in the sixth inning, even the game with what appeared to be a pulled hamstring. So the injury caused Drayback an early start in either game 4 or 5, and ensured he would not be available for a third start in game 7, which as it ultimately did. So that was a big loss. He was a big-time pitcher in his own right. So game 2, Steve Avery pitched against Zane Smith. Braves won 1-0 in the shutout. That was a pitcher's duel. David Justice had hit a single to lead off. Then Mark Lemke hit a double in the sixth inning to score David Justice. Ended up evening the series. And this win snapped a 10-game postseason losing streak for the Braves franchise that began with Game 5 of the 1958 World Series when the team was still in Milwaukee. So we got a split. Then you go to Atlanta. The series goes to Atlanta. Then at Fulton County Stadium, Atlanta wins 10-3. John Smoltz pitched, very well. He faced against John Smiley. Orlando Merced hit Smoltz' first pitch over the right field wall for a home run. But in the bottom of the first, two-out doubles by Ron Gant, David Justice, Brian Hunter put the Braves up 2-1. Greg Olson hit a 2-run homer to make it 4-1. Then Lonnie Smith hit by a pitch with 2 outs and scored on Terry Pendleton's double. Smiley was gone after that inning. So, man, how great Smiley was in the regular season, he wasn't able to do it in the postseason. So, third inning, Rafael Billiard hit an RBI single with 2 outs, with 2 on, off of Bill Landrum, and made it 6-1. There was 6-2 when Jose Lean hit a RBI single. The fourth inning, then Jay Bell's home run in the seventh made it 6-3. That knocked Smokes out of the game, but the Braves got that run back when Ron Gant hit a home run off of Bob Kipper. So overall, they won 10-3. Sid Green hit a 3-run homer off of Rosario Rodriguez. And that was that, man. They lost 10-3. Game 4. Pittsburgh won in Atlanta 3-2. This was the lone extra inning game of the series. It was in Atlanta. The Braves got on the board first. Lonnie Smith hit a double to lead off the first for Randy Tomlin. Moved to third on the lineup. Then Ron Scantz grounded out, but scored Lonnie Smith. Then 3 straight singles came from David Justice, Brian Hunter, and Greg Olson, respectively, to make it 2-0. Don Slaughter hit an RBI single with 2 on in the second inning, second off of Charlie Leibrandt to cut the lead to 2-1. Then Gary Reedus single with 2 outs in the fifth and scored on the Jay Bell single, along with the Braves error to tie the game. Now the Pirates tied the series with a run in the top of the 10th when Mike Valera off of Mark Roller's single and Andy Van Slyke, who stole second base after being walked by Kent Merker. And Stan Blaney retired the Braves in order in the bottom of the inning. They won that game. So now we got a 2-2 tie. It's game 5. Pittsburgh against Atlanta. In Atlanta, another pitcher's duel. Pittsburgh was able to win. In Atlanta, 1-0. Zane Smith pitched very, very well in the series. His second game that he pitched well in the series, beating Tom Glavine. Controversy surrounded this game when David Justice appeared to score on a single to left, but he seemed to miss third base. Was called out in an appeal. Replays were inconclusive, but Justice did stumble off of third base, and the umpires called him out, preserving Smith's shutout. So the lone run in this game came from a Jose Lean hit, simple R&B single in the fifth. So here's the scenario: 3-2, Pittsburgh is up, 3-2. All they need to do is go back home and wrap it up, but it didn't happen. Another pitcher's duel came about. Atlanta won 1-0. Steve Airy was pitched in this game. Doug Drabek, both pitchers pitched great, and this was one of the best pitchers duel you're ever gonna see, especially at that time. It was just a pitcher's duel. The Pirates only got 4 hits. The Braves didn't score a run all the way through the 8 innings. Drabek and Avery matched pitch for pitch. But in the 9th inning, with the score tied 0-0, Greg Olson raked a double down the left field line that scored Ron Gant, who walked and stole second and took the lead off of weary Drabek. He had pitched a complete game, but was a loser after the Pirates could not get Gary Varsho home from third in the bottom of the 9th. So the Braves had not scored a run since the first inning of Game 4, a futility streak that reached 26 2/3 innings before Gant scored the winning run. So now we have a Game 7 in Three Rivers Stadium. Now, give credit to Atlanta, because at that time, Atlanta had to do things the hard way. They came back from a 3-2 deficit to not only tie the series, but win the series in Atlanta. That's the thing that was impressive about the Braves, because they won Game 6 in Pittsburgh after losing Game 5 in Atlanta. Game 7, another shutout. John Smoltz did his thing, facing John Smiley. So Atlanta won 4-0. The Braves scored 3 runs in the first inning on Ron Gant's sacrifice fly, with runs on first and third, followed by a Brian Hunter 2-run home run, and never looked back. 20-game winner. John Smiley made the start, but he didn't do well. He was yanked after 2/3 of an inning and lost to John Smoltz, who shut out the Pirates. Although Bob Walk was masterful in middle relief, it was too little too late, even though he pulled his groin trying to help his cause, attempting to stretch a single into a double in the bottom of the 7th. Hunter's RBI double in the 5th with 2 capped the scoring on the Braves 4-0 and nabbed the pennant. So after Atlanta had gone 26 2/3 innings without scoring, the Pirates themselves went the final 22 1/3 innings without scoring. That streak would reach 30 innings before Jose Lean snapped it with a home run in the 8th inning of Game 1 in the 1992 NLCS. So that was a story in the series. Part of it was that the Pirates could not score any runs. You know what I'm saying? Like, they picked the wrong time to not score. So they was on a streak where they wasn't scoring runs. Steve Airy won the series MVP. Pitched 16 1/3 innings. The Braves started did not allow a run, giving up 9 hits, walking 4 while striking out 17. The Braves scored 14 runs in the games Smiley pitched, Game 3 and 7, including 9 off of Smiley, but only 5 runs in the other 5 games combined. Smiley had been the Pirates' biggest winner in 1991, notching 20 wins for the only time in his career. So the Atlanta Braves' World Series appearance was their first since 1958, and their first since moving to Atlanta in 1966. And the Braves lost Game 7 series against the Minnesota Twins. The Twins went on to win the championship. So this was a great series, man. But give credit to Atlanta. They were a team that, again, went from worst to first, trailing 3 games to 2 after they lost Game 5, and then they went Game 6 in Three Rivers Stadium and shutout. They shut out the Pittsburgh Pirates. And this was a time where, Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds was going through a situation where, he would struggle in the postseason as far as not coming through with, big time hits in the clutch when they needed it. So with the Braves shutting them out, Game 6 and 7, Now, it's not all Barry Bonds' fault, but Barry Bonds was their best player, and he did not come through. That was a period of time where he wasn't getting it done, and they wasn't able to get it done during that time. Uh, you look at that kind of team that the Pittsburgh Pirates had in '91. They was just going through a phase where they were in the NLCS 3 straight years in a row. This was their second consecutive year. Then they'll go to the year after that, 1992. But at that time, man, it was just, Pittsburgh just couldn't get over that hump. Atlanta Braves was that team that just had the Pittsburgh Pirates' number. When you have a team's number, you just know how to beat them. And they just couldn't not score runs in Game 6 and Game 7 at home, getting shut out like that. That's what was their total downfall. Not just Barry Bonds, Bobby Bonilla didn't do that much, or Andy Van Slyke. You're talking about the three best players on that roster, especially Barry Bonds, and at the top of the food chain as a player of his caliber. Man, he just wasn't doing it in the postseason during that time. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Look back at the 1991 Pittsburgh Pirates, a team that should have won a championship but didn't win a championship. And this is part 30 of the professional sports teams that didn't win a championship during that season. Please like, subscribe to the channel, comment, deeply appreciate it. This is Rashad Mitchell. Until then, talk to you tomorrow.